let's get started. Hope you're in the right session. We're going to talk about our journey with Fusion, and I think you got a sneak peek this morning. You know this guy. You probably don't know me. I'm the data platform lead at EQT. You can tell from my accent I'm not Swedish. I'm not. I grew up in Melbourne, but spent the last 10 years in Stockholm and the last 2 at EQT, leading the data platform team. Jonny.
Yeah, I'm Jonny Reichwald. As you probably can hear from my accent, from Sweden. I've been working at EQT for quite some time now, 6 years, going strong. And the agenda for today, we'll talk a little bit about EQT, so you know what we're doing. We will talk about our path to Fusion, what was required, what unlocked us to be able to do that. And then we have 3 case studies, which is Project E, D, and C. And lastly, we'll talk about the learnings we have done during this journey. So for EQT then, what are we? We are a private equity firm. We are approximately 30 years old. We started out in Sweden, but now we operate at a global level. Currently, we have approximately 300 portfolio companies, and we have 266 billion euros in assets under management currently. And to understand what we are doing in the private equity industry, we do something called close-ended funds. Usually when you invest in a fund, you put your money there and let it be there for a while, then you withdraw it at any time you want. With a close-ended fund, it has a starting point and it has an end point. And we start by raising capital, where we go to our potential investors, talk with them. Once we've done that, we go out and find potential portfolio companies. We buy them, and then we have a future-proofing period where we spend approximately 5 years trying to improve on them. And then it comes to the realizing the investment, the divestment phase, where we sell the company, either doing an IPO or selling it to another private owner. And then, based on this, we return the capital to our investors, and then the cycle starts all over again. And EQT, we love Coalesce. We have been talking here for many times now. We did an online version in 2020. It was during COVID. London 2023, and I was here last year in Las Vegas as well. With that, I'll hand back to you.
Cool. Thanks, Jonny. So before we dive into Project E, D, and C, we'll just give you, a brief glimpse into the landscape and our quick journey onto Fusion. Very quickly at a glance, we've got 22 projects, 80 developers, and before Fusion, we were building 1-ish million models a month. But yes, so as Elias alluded to this morning, he came over in May to our lovely office, ate some lunch, talked about Fusion. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. And I'm glad you said it, but it was the first installation of the VS Code extension outside of DBT, and you were stoked. You were doing laps around the room, high-fiving. No, it was cool. Fast forward to today, and we've got 11 projects running Fusion in production, I should say. So that's 50%. But I mean, that's what, 5 months? You say 11 projects, 5 months. That's not fantastic progress. We do come from the Nordics, so we have summer, and our Norwegian friends know. So basically, that's 2 months knocked out of you. Where some people take an early summer, some people take a late summer. And also, my team, we had a pre-planned project underway where we had to migrate our DBT cloud instance to the EU. We've been DBT customers for about 6 years, since it was Fishtown Analytics. We needed to get off the US just for data residency purposes. So yeah, that was a bit of legacy we had to deal with. That's a whole nother session, right? We had Terraform, all sorts of stuff going on there. So yeah, but that's not for today. Mid-July, we had 2 projects running Fusion production. Tiny ones, but they were running State Aware Orchestration, flipped that switch, it was cool. A week later, DBT asked us, do you want to present at Coalesce and talk about Fusion? We said, sure. Jonny, you were still on holidays. I said, we only got 2 projects running. He goes, don't worry, we'll fix it, it's cool. And then by the end of August, we finished our migration project. So start of August, essentially, a lot of work going in, bug squashing, a lot of scratching of heads. But finally, September 10, with preview 11, a lot of these bugs were solved, like within 24 hours in some cases. Yep. And it unblocked our migration path, right? So a lot of projects managed to get on board there. And September 19, the first substantial project, Project E, came on board there, which we'll talk about. Just to give you a glimpse of the furious pace, this is my GitHub contribution. I didn't do any work for the first 6 months. And the last 2 months was furious, right to the very end. So, yeah, that's, I am the product manager. So Project E. So this is the one I had in mind. The first time we heard about Fusion, this is the one that I thought, yep, sure, from a platform perspective, we're going to save some money. It's one of our older projects, 4.5 years old. It has a real estate focus. We forgot to mention we actually own about 2,000 buildings as well. Yep. 300 companies, 2,000 buildings. Yeah, we're landlords. 900 models, 100 sources. We had a job that runs every 30 minutes, just mindlessly going, building, building, building. We have a merge job, CI job. Pretty run-of-the-mill projects there. So, what happened?
So, and now we're going to do a deep dive in the numbers I mentioned earlier today and how we arrived at them. Unfortunately, we're not scientists, so we just furiously typed away to get Fusion running. And then once we had it up and running, we saw essentially this picture, and we're like, okay, what does this mean? And we will do a little sing-along version here with everyone in the room so we can break it down together. So if we start by just removing the outliers, we get a little bit clearer picture. We see things going on here, and we see a couple of blocks here. It's going down there on the 21st of September and then on the 29th. Can anyone figure out what's going on here? What could it be? It's actually the weekends. But why didn't it go down there in the beginning, at the 13th? So let's see if we can get some more clarity into this. Let's see if we can smoothen out the curve a little bit. So we do a running average here. Okay, it's pretty even in the beginning. Then it starts going up and down. During the weekends, it goes down. So then we realized these are the daily variations. During daytime, people do work, data gets into the system, the load goes up. But why is it flatter in the beginning? So let's take a look then at when we actually got the Fusion parts running. Yep. This is when we turn on Fusion for the first time. And as you can see, it immediately starts with this up and down curve. Ideally, I said we were not scientists, and we did not to wait until we turned on the State Aware Orchestration as well. It could have been interesting to see what happened in between there, but
truth be known, I was super impatient. So I saw one successful run under Fusion. I thought, bugger it, I'll just turn that switch on. We had a Coalesce thing to present.
Yeah. But then we see a big drop again later on, and as we see here, we realized we were running all the tests, always, regardless if the data had changed upstream in any way. So then we realized we could combine the run and test stage with the build command. And then we saw this immense drop again. During the weekends, it's super fast, and then we had the same up and down after that. So I did a small spoiler this morning. Yeah. But here we go. We have the baseline. It took approximately 7 minutes for one run. And once we had Fusion, State Aware Orchestration, and the combination of the run and test command, we are around 3 minutes for each run, which is extremely impressive. Then, of course, we are just taking the mean now for including weekends and so on. You can argue, is that the right way of doing it? But that's where we are. Yeah. And then we do have some learnings here as well. And Ron, do you want to take that?
I think we had something before, right?
Did we?
Yeah. Impact.
Oh, yeah. Did it skip for it?
Yeah, once again, this
Okay.
was all talked about this morning. So, yeah, theoretical upper cost saving 60%. And then what we found is that we did manage to reduce the warehouse in this particular project by 45%.
Yeah, and just to give you some intuition how we arrived at that number, we actually spun up a separate warehouse just to test this and run the same project. And then we looked at the cost for that warehouse. So potentially there could be further savings. We haven't really explored that, but I don't think we can go above 60% at least for this project.
Yep. So learnings, yeah. As we said in the keynote and also now, we'll say very little code changed. We only had to address the deprecation warnings, right? And in that case, autofix is your friend. Just use it. It'll work. It'll work wonders. Secondly, just as a project learning, was that not all sources are refreshed at the same time. That flat line, that is the weekend, and then it starts to go in this sawtooth pattern. I think the x-axis is Central European time. You can see it actually spikes up towards the end of our working day. Our real estate business is mainly based in the US, so that kind of makes sense, right? And then finally, jobs can be simplified. Just dbt build. Super simple. That was easy peasy. That was exactly what we expected. That's what Elias sold us on. Project D, just repeat, right? No worries, just do exactly the same thing. It'll work fine. It'll just go great. Project D, this is a bit younger. Portfolio focus, so we own the 300 companies. It's got a lot of metrics about those companies. 500 models, 100 sources. Some of those sources get refreshed every 5 minutes. But once again, super simple setup, job running every 30 minutes, merge CI job, and a couple of full refresh jobs just to make sure things are in a good state. So, Jonny, what happened then?
Yeah, what happened then? Let's have a look. And yeah, I will not walk you through this. We already did for the previous one, but you kind of understand what's going on here. And the dotted line is when we turned on Fusion for Project D. And yeah, what happened? Doesn't look like much happened, actually.
Could have gone worse.
Let's get some numbers. Oh. What happened here? Yeah. Of course, we were a bit disappointed here. So we started digging around, and as Ron said, we do have some sources that receive fresh data every 5 minutes. But then we started thinking, is this really true? Is it always receiving data every 5 minutes? It doesn't look like that when you look at the data.
No.
And we started digging around, and we realized this data came from a Fivetran cloud function calling a bespoke API. The API was not aware of the time dimension, so it always just returned all the data. And if we read the fine print here in the Fivetran documentation, we delete and reinsert a row, effectively performing an upsert. But what happens then? The date gets updated, which means the state aware orchestration cannot work. So obviously we need to fix this. We haven't gotten around to do that just yet, but we have seen some preliminary results, and we can...
Yeah, if you go back to the graph, I think you see the start of the trend.
See if I can go back.
I think literally this was fresh, right? So that is approaching the weekend. So you can see that tail off into the weekend there. So we're on the right track. We're just trying to track down all these sources and fix the state correctly. But yeah.
So there can be some issues, but yeah, it's definitely fixable. So over to the learnings for this one.
Yep. So for state aware orchestration to work, you need correct state data. It's simple as that. I mean, Fusion did it, or DBT did exactly what it was told to do. Check the freshness. Yeah, okay, it was updated 3 minutes ago. Cool. Go again. Some projects like this one will need some extra attention just to get it going, but we're confident we'll get there. What we did so far was to trick it a little bit, use some of these new metadata tags in there, build after, just to overcome some of the inaccuracies. In this case, this is an example of where we used it for an FX, for a currency exchange job, right? Where it was thinking it was fresh every 5 minutes. It wasn't. We just needed FX rate at the end of the day, so we've done this, except they didn't know exactly when the data was going to land. So I think I spoke to the team, and 3 hours was a good compromise, and it works fine. And you can imagine the FX model was far, far upstream, so if we got that right, a lot of downstream models didn't have to build. Okay, we're good on time. Project C, not only cost savings. This is a good one. Pretty young project, investor focus this time, so think about our clients and prospects as well. Slightly smaller, 300 models, 200 sources. Again, simple setup, job running every hour, merge and CI job. Problem here was that one of the use cases for that data called for fresh data all the time. So that's cool, just materialize the models as views, no problem. But over time, the volumes increased, the performance of the view degraded, so much so that the query to refresh the report in the BI tool, I think this is Salesforce in this case, took over 10 minutes to run, and then even worse, the downstream models used this view, so the whole job just started to just slow down. So what happened here? We had an engineer in that project. He was a bit of a champion of Fusion, and he spent a lot of time with DBT folks and us as well. So what we figured out is that not everything needed to be fresh always, right? Number one, let's materialize those problematic views and we'll go to tables. That's the first step. To be honest, that's not even Fusion related. We could have done that pre-Fusion. Secondly, they figured out that you didn't need to have fresh sources all the time for everything. Just two sources needed that 10-minute count there. The rest of them could be an hour. Arguably, if you talk to the business stakeholders, it could be 3 hours. But we went with that, and then we got to the report. So, what happened here?
Thank you. So here we see a plot, once again, running Fusion, State Aware Orchestration turned on, and varying freshness materializations that Ron mentioned in the slide before this. And we see a result here, a major decrease in runtime, and we did another small tweak here. We actually did increase the job frequency. It's not super visible, but if you look at the small gray dots, before we turn it on, it ran every hour. After, we actually run it every 15 minutes. We did this because we wanted fresher data in the reports as well.
Yep.
So once again, we're not super good scientists. We didn't separate out the steps, but...
No time.
No time. We were a bit stressed here. But as you can see, the results are still very impressive. You see this very nice hike downwards when we turn it on. So what does this mean then for the cost? I have made a small overlay here with the cost. And just be aware that this warehouse runs other jobs as well. So these spikes you see, they might come from other things. And yeah, it's normalized to also overlap with the purple line, so don't read too much into the numbers. It's more to give an understanding if it's correlating or not. And as you can see, it is actually dropping quite markedly at this point in time when we turned on Fusion and the State Aware Orchestration. So let's see what impact we had here.
Yep. So as Jonny said, we managed to actually increase the frequency. Every 15 minutes now, this job was running, which means that that downstream dashboard got that data even more frequently than they had before. Runtime decreased by 67%. I can't remember the exact details, but that's the relative drop. And in this case, the warehouse, this particular case, it was closer to 50% savings there. And again,
including the increase in the frequency.
Yes.
That's the impressive part here.
That's pretty cool. A nice surprise, actually, and that's why we wanted to end it off with that story instead of Project D. That's yeah. And again, simplify the job selector. To quote the engineer in Project C, no need for intricate tags or selectors. That was his words, DBT build. So that's super cool. Learnings, next steps. So Project C, the last one, just showed us faster, cheaper, better. You can have all three in this case. We got it all.
Yeah, you can keep that one. As I've seen, huge gains can be made just by flipping the Fusion and State Aware Orchestration switch. We saw the 60% runtime decrease, and we saw very similar numbers in the other project that worked out.
Yeah, true.
I'm sure we'll have similar numbers in the middle one at some point in time as well.
Project D told us that you need to have your source data in shape, certainly the metadata around the freshness.
Yeah, and Fusion actually allows you to simplify your code, especially if you have old hacks for optimizing the runtime. We do have a project. I think we have it, we'll mention it later on, where we see a lot of code that we just can throw away once we get this working, which will be super nice.
Yeah, you have to remember we've been running this for 6 years, so there is going to be old legacy code there. Yeah. And this one was good. Developer incentives to transition to Fusion. So what me and my team put in place is that you had to get your project onto the EU instance before we can turn on Fusion. We weren't going to support Fusion on both our US and EU instances. They really wanted to get their hands on the VS Code extension, right? And we said, so, okay, cool. Let's get your project Fusion enabled first in the cloud. Then you can get all the benefits of the VS Code extension, cursor, whatever. Next steps, roughly. So today, 11 projects running Fusion. The next immediate step is to get Project D optimized, and we'll work with that team to do that. We'll fix all these little SAO weirdness there. And as Jonny mentioned, we have a Project M. This is a highly complex BigQuery project, so we can almost see the dollar signs coming in there. It'll be cool. It'll be great. I think we got the last bug resolved just before code freeze, but we hadn't. No, it's too short time. It's a big project. But so just to put in context, everything we've shown you, that was all Snowflake. This is the first BigQuery one. We're looking forward to feature parity, getting everything there back again. We're missing advanced CI. Please bring it back. And then tomorrow, like this is day 2, day 3, we're looking forward to some Fusion-enabled goodies. Blue-green deploys. Blessed by DBT, not our hacks. And then column level classification. You can imagine we need to start classifying our data from both an internal perspective but also a regulatory perspective. We are domiciled in the EU, so we need to take care of GDPR or whatnot. Okay, just the rough approach. So I talked about it. We started with 2 super small projects, fairly painless, did that. And then we targeted Project E. And Project E was actually one of the most costliest projects, both from the Snowflake warehouse perspective. Also, we used a package, the Snowflake monitoring package, and we can see consistently Project E models were just up there all the time, eating away. And yep, profit, although we're probably going to give that money back to Snowflake anyway. Key enablers. So I drove a lot of this as well. I loved the VS Code cursor extension. It was super cool to debug previous CTEs. That compile thing that Jerko showed you this morning, just to get that code. run in the warehouse, directly, see what happens. It was all great just to be able to debug things, help out Elias and team there. A big shout out to our own developers, right? To allow me, not in their team, to poke into their code. That's pretty cool. Just submit PRs and ask them to blindly approve them. Say, it'll work. And then DBT for tirelessly squashing the bugs. Elias, Jerko, Sean, our solutions engineer, all those folks, super cool. I'm going to have this. This is my favourite bug. Apparently it was only for us. It only happened to us. 689. So you clone a repo, you go dbtf parse, dbtf compile. Imagine a new developer. Your experience is, okay, doesn't work, doesn't understand a manifest JSON. The workaround was always to put no defer at the end of it. Forget about that. You were tired of it. Yeah, it was just shit. Turned out, I was so sick of it, and it turned out it was actually a zip file. Yeah. Only for us, for some reason.
Yeah, we were the first one in the EU region, I guess, and it behaved like, it works on my computer, is the usual answer. But the EU region behaved slightly different from the rest.
Yep. This was addressed super quick. I mean, Jerko in this case put in a hack in there quickly, and you see it there. It basically, within the code itself, in the Fusion code, it actually, if it detects if it's a zip file, it actually uncompressed it, and then it just went on its merry way. So, super cool. That's it. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for coming along. Any questions? Yes.
Could you go into detail a little bit more about what happened with the tests that kept running when you first rolled out the first State Aware Orchestration? Because we just run dbt build and it runs the test automatically. So what was going on in your world?
I think if you run build, it will just work out of blocks for you.
Yeah.
Because then it will actually resolve the dependencies upstream. We had separate steps for running the tests and doing the run part.
I can't speak for the developers who owned that project, but they had dbt run with a selector of some sort, and then they ran tests as a second command, right? So they probably
just letting the test run as part of dbt build.
not even that. It literally dbt run in one command, and then in the same job dbt test. So the test would be fairly dumb, right? It just says, I'll run all the tests. So very simple, again, non-Fusion related, but something that Fusion was built for, just simplify. Okay. We'll take first one.
I don't know if there is a catch, really. We have Elias here in the room as well.
One small catch I found, so you install the local version, the VS Code extension, right? You have a tendency to fire off a lot of dbtf something just to quickly test things, whether it's you're selecting a direct model. Counterintuitively, that actually sends more queries to the warehouse, because you're doing that, but we'll see. But that's a very small catch. It's been good so far, but I mean we've been pretty open with Project D as well. It's not going to fix everything straight away, but it does do a lot. Middle guy there, yes, you, yep.
You mentioned having dedicated warehouses so that you can measure the cost savings between your three Fusion jobs. Were you not running model-specific warehouses, or was it just a monolithic warehouse for the entire run?
Yeah, I wouldn't say monolithic, but it actually shared, Project E and Project D shared a warehouse together. So you can imagine we fixed E, but it was still, not going down because Project D was still doing its thing and still is, right? So we were scientific in some respects.
We were a little bit scientific in one area.
So
actually.
we just, bit of Terraform code, switched Project D out to its own warehouse and just let it run there. So.
All the models in the project share the
Not all projects. Generally, each project have their own warehouse, but this was a bit legacy, so they happened to share a warehouse together. Project C had its own warehouse. It's just that it's got merge jobs, CI jobs, depending on how many engineers actually work. Then you could see the spike in the usage go up. Yeah. Yes.
I have two questions. The first one, what are some of the key steps you did on your projects to make it fusion ready or fusion eligible? Or out of all your 22 projects, how do you determine which one is fusion eligible to implement the or the non-fusion of that?
Not sure 100% understood.
What we did before to be able to run Fusion, is that the question? Yeah, and there's this great tool, dbt autofix, if I remember correctly, that will essentially fix a lot of the things, legacy things that you need to change. And I don't think there's that much more to it. I mean, once you start running it, you might encounter something, but then you simply have to...
Probably some lazy code. I think in one instance, Fusion picked up, this model it's empty, it doesn't do anything. And sure enough, literally the model was empty. And I asked the developers, why is it empty? Literally 0 lines, but they committed the SQL file, the model there. He goes, we're just holding it for a placeholder. And I thought,
Yeah, and Fusion is actually a bit stricter in some areas. So you had to relax the rules. I mean, it was technically correct in what it said, but the old DBT version didn't care about that. So, yeah.
That's a catch, actually.
Yeah.
We are stricter. You might have project code that was compatible in core because of something core wasn't intending to do. It was just more lenient. Right?
Yeah, a number wasn't a number, was it, for a while ago? Yeah. It was very strict with number, 18.0, number.
We have floating point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had different floating point definitions, 38.3 in one place and 38.5. It's no, these are not the same.
A number is a number is a number. Yeah. Yes, go for it.
So when you said you have implemented on 12 projects, are those projects on DBT mesh as well? Is it the cross-platform fusion or is it the fusion is implemented on individual projects?
Individual projects. Yep. And I think Project M is a big one. That's a special one, but we've had a couple more that we hope to get to, and I think that'll go quite quick. We just need a little bit more buy-in. They're a little bit more important. So we need to tread carefully with the engineers to make sure it's all correct, but we're pretty confident.
You guys have some cross-project refs too.
Yes. We do have cross refs, yes.
Yes.
Between fusion and non-fusion as well.
Yes, sorry, yep.
There was a project where we have real-time data coming in, and you said the job to run every 15 minutes. So can you quantify that, how much benefit we got with the methodization as table versus fusion? Because when we metadize the table, we are going to get a performance.
You're right, you do. So Project C, I mean, that saving there was literally the kitchen sink, right? We threw materialized tables, Fusion, State Aware, everything into one. We weren't particularly scientific about it, but yeah. But what we can see at the end is the actual warehouse reduction. I mean, the proof is there. So I can't actually say this was attributed 100% to Fusion and SAO, yeah. Sorry, one in the back before you.
Actually, when we changed to Fusion, we also had to change the selector. So that selected more models in reality, since we wanted to catch all the source systems. But we still saw the improvements. So I don't, no changes in that area. You mean if you could have modified the selector to make a smaller selection without Fusion? Yeah, possibly. I don't know. But also, this is about complexity in your code base, and now we don't even have to think about it. It's like, just run it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Because cost savings is a big thing.
Yeah.
We also we gone through all the HTML tags and so on.
Yeah, we didn't explore super deeply if we could change the selectors. We just flipped the switch, saw the drop.
No, this is very fast, very furious just to get here. Yeah, so I'm sure we'll do better. But there'll be a limit, right? I mean, we're pretty happy with 50-ish%. Squeezing it any more to 51%, I think we can probably do better things with our time. Yeah. Yes?
Another question about the stats. You mentioned that you have 500 models and you have to move, I guess, from DBT, normal DBT core or cloud into Fusion. Can I just know like, how long it takes you to do the shift, like how many human hours or engineering hours you have to take to basically move from DBT core to DBT normal to DBT Fusion?
So yeah, just to clarify, we were sitting on a US instance. I mean, being a customer for about 6 years, we were in the cloud, sitting on a US instance. What we needed to do is pick up the jobs themselves. The models. They live in GitHub, right? So that literally didn't change. What does change is all the settings, the configuration, all that sort of stuff. We weren't great with Terraform in the early days, so we had a hodgepodge. 50% of even one project's configuration was terraformed and some were not. So it was far easier to get everything in Terraform first. And then I think there was another tool that Sean had or something like that to be able to lift and basically import all that Terraform in our new instance. So that was the actual lift and shift there. The models themselves, they're in the same repository. Maybe some slight modifications in terms of they got a new project ID, which we need to update the project YAML.
But I mean, this was a self-inflicted thing we had to do. I don't think it would affect you if you just want to switch to Fusion, really.
Yeah, this is just us trying to be compliant in the European Union. That's all. Yep.
Most of the heavy lifting was done by Terraform because that's what it's done previously.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't have that entire project in Terraform, we can say that's a big effort to do this shit.
No. If you're willing to go click, that's no problem as well. Yep.
Thanks.
We're not getting kicked out yet. No more questions?
So you have to quantify your measures that you're showing 60% knowledge. It's a combination of cost of Snowflake, which you might be running unnecessary models. Fusion is not doing that, unnecessary tests and everything, and also compilation part of the SQL. Is it a combination of both? If I have to quantify your measures.
I think most of it comes from running on Snowflake. The compilation, I mean, it's faster, but it doesn't really affect. We don't spin up the warehouse while it's compiling. So it doesn't drive costs down by having a faster compiler. It's just a nicer experience. Does it answer somewhat the question?
Yeah, I'm just combining what are the different things that are really making up that improvement, right?
I'm curious, on the cost savings, did you manage to measure how much was pure data freshness, not running models, and how much was on setting up the SLAs with build after or updates on configurations? Did you do any investigation as to the root cause of the cost optimization? That make sense?
Which project in general? Or
Cyber CDRE.
the middle one, the one with not so great?
So I think it was about the not so great performance.
Yep.
Where you started configuring updates on or build after
Yeah.
configurations, but I don't remember if you actually showed any settings.
Too early to tell. I mean, we did it. We had a few sources. The FX one was quite a few, but quite a few of them were running through set on 5-minute intervals, and had this issue of getting the 5 trans-synced column tagged every time. And we didn't have an alternative column. Actually, for 2 of those sources, I found an alternative column to configure the loaded at field parameter, right? And we use that. And so that contributed to that slight decline. But literally, this was as of the weekend. We didn't have any more numbers to show. So I think we're pretty transparent. We'll have to come back next year, right, and show you. Stockholm, no.
All right. We are way over time.
Yep.
If you have any more questions, just come here and we can talk about them. But once again, thank you.